Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Thursday, the 16th of October, 2025, and you are watching Morning Brew on Politics Social. I hope you're all well this morning. I am Graham Hughes. Hello. Of Politics Social fame. Well, maybe not fame. Maybe infamy. They've all got an infamy. Big shout outs to Diz and Martin Harrow and Elle and Lost Missionary. Saz in the chat as well. We got C Dizzy Dizzle in the chat. Hello. We've got Kirsty in the chat as well, and many others. If you'd like to join our beautiful friends in the beautiful chat, all you need to do, hit the subscribe button, wait for approximately 60 of your Earth seconds, and you will be able to join in the chat. As we're discussing the China spy case. Cover up or cock up. See what I did there? So, just to set the scene. The Christophers. There's a new movie coming out called The Christophers, actually, with Serene McKellen and Michaela. What's her name? Michaela Cole, which is very good, by the way. Two men called Christopher Cash and Christopher Berry, were accused of spying for China, and they were charged under the Official Secrets Act in April 2024. But the case collapsed before reaching trial, because apparently the government didn't supply enough evidence that China was officially classed as a national security threat at the time of the offences. This case has raised huge questions about how Britain defines its relationship with China and whether political convenience took precedent over national security. So, we've reached a point where the CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service, drops an espionage charge because Whitehall can't decide whether China is our friend or our foe. Can you be a bit of both? Could you be a fremini? Could that be a new actual classification of certain countries? Frenemy countries. China, the US of A. It's a frenemy, you know? In some regards, friendly. In other regards, I'm going to keep an eye on those motherfuckers. Do you know what I'm saying? We all have frenemies in our lives. And I don't think that it would be out of the bounds of possibility that we could declare China our frenemy. Anyway, so Christopher Cash, first of the Christophers, parliamentary researcher connected to the China Research Group, Tory faction, studying UK-China relations. This is the guy working for the Tories. Tory faction, the China Research Group. There's also the China Research Group wasn't necessarily antagonistic to China, unlike the European Research Group, which was antagonistic to the continent of Europe existing. You know, that continent that we live in, that we're part of. The European Union that extends to the east of us, the south of us, the north of us, and the west of us. Yeah, that European Union that surrounds us. That one. But anyway, so yeah, we're here now, and this is what we're dealing with. He's this Christopher Cash fella. Good alliteration though, I've got to say. He was accused of working with Berry to pass information about MPs to a Chinese agent. He denies everything, says he's been denied the daylight of a public trial and refuses to take part in a trial by media. Christopher Berry, meanwhile, allegedly met with a senior Chinese Communist Party figure in 2022, said to have acted as a go-between using Cash's access and Westminster contacts. He also denied being a spy. But has stayed quiet since the case was dropped, unlike Christopher Cash, who's actually made a public statement. The charges weren't about James Bond-style secret gadgets or anything. They're just about influence, access, and information flow within the British political establishment. So, yesterday at PMQs, if you were watching PMQs with Graham Hughes, you'll know this. Before PMQs started, to absolutely kibosh anything that Kemi Badenoch wanted to ask, and knowing that she's incapable of pivoting or having questions B or questions C, she needs a flow chart. Did he answer the question? Yes. Okay, I'll ask a different question. Did he absolutely kip you by standing up before you get to answer any questions and say, right, we're going to publish all the details in full? Yeah. So anyway, Downing Street has now published 3 witness statements by Matthew Collins, the Deputy National Security Advisor, referred to as the DNSA, yesterday in Parliament, to clarify the evidence. One paints a slightly different picture. Each one paints a slightly different picture. But funny enough, they fucked up. So these got released about 9:30 last night. And Labour, classic comms error. They fucked up. They put the wrong date. They put the wrong date. Maybe they put 2024 instead of 2025. And the thing is, there was a big difference between the government of the United Kingdom in 2024, in February 2024, and February in 2025. In 2024, we were still under the Tory cosh. Now we're under the Labour cosh. Different flavoured cosh. Yeah, you love those koshes, don't you? Anyway, so the first statement that was released yesterday, this was in December 2023, under the Conservatives. It describes China as conducting large-scale espionage operations against UK and allies, explicitly says that the suspects' alleged allegations were prejudicial to the safety or interests of the UK, also stresses that Britain sought open and constructive engagement with Beijing, classic Tory hedging there, open and constructive. And this is the period when Cash and Berry were allegedly active. Now, I would say that, I don't know the legalistic ins and outs of this. Maybe you know it better than I do. But I would say, on the face of it, like, the crimes were committed at a certain time. And if Labour tomorrow declared China public enemy number 1, it would make no difference, because when the crimes were committed, the Tories were a bit woolly in their definition of whether China was an enemy of the United Kingdom or not. In fact, this document from 2023, under the Conservatives, the civil service stays the same, no matter who the government is in charge. It is permanent. It's a permanent role in the civil service. Doesn't matter whether you're taking your marching orders from the Labours, from the Tories, from the Lib Dems, from the Whigs. Doesn't matter. You stay in your job, usually. Unless the Tories get in and don't like the look of you, and then they'll sack you. But that's another story. So then the next statement that they published, right? Statement 2. Now, originally, when they published it, and there was a bit of a hasty correction, they published it as saying they published it saying that it came out in February 2024, which would have still been under the Tory government, but as I just said, it came out in February 2025, so this year. So Labour now in government, China called the biggest state-based threat to UK's economic security. But it adds, it is important to emphasise the government's commitment to a positive economic relationship with China. And you could argue that the inclusion of that word, positive, is under Labour, new under Labour, is key to all this. But again, I don't know. We'll get into it. Statement 3 reiterates that China's espionage threatens the UK economic prosperity and the integrity of our democratic institutions. It referenced the cyber attacks on the Electoral Commission between 2021 and 2023. And Collins believed that the final statement should have satisfied the CPS, that they had enough to say that China was a threat and therefore go ahead with the prosecution. But the Crown Prosecution Service went, no. Now, the CPS, it's important to stress, have to decide before a case goes to court if it's likely to win. If they think it's not likely to win, they'll get off on a technicality. It won't go to court. I mean, sometimes it does, but generally speaking, they like to win. They don't like to waste time and resources taking people to court only to lose, because that costs a lot of money, right? So yes, but the date thing was a bit of a bloody mess, wasn't it? The fact that the second statement, they put it out, making it sound like it was put out under the Tories, but it wasn't. It was put out under Labour, and that distinction is quite crucial, actually, because it affects whether the CPS considered Labour's updated China stance or the previous governments. Downing Street had to publish a clarification note after the error was discovered, adding to the chaos. But I will say again, when these crimes were committed, they were still working under the assumptions that were put forward in the first statement that came out in 2023, December 2023, under the Conservatives, written by the Deputy National Security Advisor, Matthew Collins. Okay, so let's just talk quickly about why the case collapsed. And then we'll talk a little bit about the reaction and everything. And then the way that the media have been like pushing this like crazy because they wanted to say that there was some, Starmer got involved and he got the case dropped. And now they're moaning about the fact that he didn't get involved or something. I mean, it's, typical tabloid fodder. But so I'm going to obviously be going to the papers after this. But obviously a lot of the papers are covering this story. So it will be a continuation of what I'm talking about. So let's talk about why the case collapsed. But before we do that, let's just say hello to the chat. I feel like I've been remiss. Lost Mystery says, morning, Liam. And Liam says, morning, Scott. And David says, morning, Liam. And Diz says, Paula, thumbs up. Hang on, let's get some questions. Kemi still wouldn't drop it. All over Twitter, whining and reiterating the same points she did at PMQs. Yes, indeed, says Willie. Lost says she's bitching about having it handed to her at PMQs. She did have it handed to her, and not on a silver platter. Laura Kunsberg, the not nice person from Telly, privately educated, of course. Willie says, I know, right, she's my MP, and things like this may be utterly pointless to contact her about anything. Oh my God, what, Kemi Badenoch, your MP? Jesus. Oh, by the way, good news, right? So, when I was at the Labour Party conference, I was disgusted at the lack of internet connection there. You could only get full internet connection while you were there, premium internet, for £120. The ticket for the actual conference was £110. That was for a 4-day conference. To have internet that fucking worked, and I tried to use my gift gaff sim, which runs on the O2 network. That didn't get me anywhere. And this year I used my Vodafone SIM card, and that didn't get me anywhere either. And I was sick of it, so I wrote a report. And I got Mike Dix to design it, so it all looked boss. And we sent it a 10-page report about connectivity at the Labour conference. And we didn't just talk about the fact, look, me going, oh, but I couldn't put up my videos. That's bullshit. Who cares? Really, whatever. I mean, it's daft for Labour because obviously if you've got people who are there at your conference, you want them putting stuff online saying, hey, I'm at this conference, and this really cool thing just happened. If you can't show what the cool thing happened, like I filmed stuff. I filmed Keir Starmer at the conference, but because I couldn't get it online immediately, it's now sitting on a hard drive somewhere. Like there's just no point in putting that up because it's weeks ago now. It's not relevant. It's not current. Even a day later, it's not current. But no, not talking about that, right? I'm talking about the fact that if you're deaf or hard of hearing, as my partner is, you need to use live transcribe in a lot of these talks so you can understand what people are saying. And to sit on the front row, have live transcribe on your lap, and you need to be able to find out what people are saying. If you cannot get internet access, you cannot use live transcribe. If you are partially sighted, you may have apps on your phone that help with describing the surrounds around you, however it works. And also, if you're trying to access pictures and stuff on the internet, you need to have the descriptions coming up. You can now they have stuff, they have things, they have ways and means to take a photo of something, and you can get a description of it on your phone. It will speak the description to you of what you're looking at. So you take a picture of it and it'll tell you what you're looking at, right? That doesn't work unless you've got internet. And then the final thing, which is something that Ivan's brought up a lot, which I included in the report, which is about the fact that if you couldn't get to the Labour Party conference because you didn't have enough money to pay for a ticket, or you have mental or physical disabilities, which mean that you cannot get out, you cannot physically get to Liverpool, you were completely excluded from from the conference. I mean, you get a stream from the main conference room, but there's dozens of little rooms going off with talks on, and there is no reason why you couldn't have a team of people whose job it is just to stream everything with phones, with £100 phones, just £100 phones. Buy 10 of them, put them in 10. And so people could, at home, could pay a tenner for access to the late party conference, whatever, and it would allow them to go to any of the talks they wanted to. And it would allow me, if I'm at one conference venue and there's something really interesting going on at the Hilton Hotel or at the Liverpool Museum or something, there's an interesting talk, but it's half a mile away to walk there, or a mile away, and it's pissing down with rain, and I have mobility issues. I could watch the talk on my phone, but that's not possible. So anyway, so I wrote a report about, the fact that the lack of internet connectivity, and also the app was shit as well. We didn't have a booklet this year. They don't have a booklet telling you where all the talks are and what time they're all on. And it's not always right, but at least you've got it in paper. But the app required the internet. So you're in the venue and you're like, okay, what's on? And you can't get internet. So you've got to walk half a mile to get internet from the Albert Dock. You finally get internet and you're like, cool, okay, I've got internet. And then it comes up, and then you go back into you go back into the conference hall, you open up your app again, but it's saved nothing to local memory. So you just look at it as a circle going around, you don't know what's happening. And it was like so frustrating. Anyway, I wrote a 10-page report and sent it off to loads of people at Labour who I just kind of made up a few emails. Sorry, secret here. I shouldn't be saying this, but I just went, okay, well, General Secretary's office, campaign commission, I just and sent labour.gov.uk, whatever the Labour suffix is, and sent it off, and I got a bite. Got back to me and said, yes, we're passing this on to the conference committee, and we might get back in touch with you. And I was like, Mike, we got a bite. So that's good, considering that's the first report published by the Impressive Foundation, and I'm going to continue doing these reports because I think, fuck it, there's a guy who does I think it's the immigration reports or something. I forgot what he calls himself. It's like the Institute for Immigration Affairs or something daft like that. And it's just one bloke. It's just one bloke who just makes up fucking reports and sends them out to the newspapers. And the newspapers publish them without thinking. These gets talked about on LBC radio without anyone going, actually, where's the evidence of this? These are the reports that say like 80% of asylum seekers are not real asylum seekers, and which is bullshit. It's the other way around. And they commit all these crimes, and they're statistically more likely to do this and that. And it's not true. It's not true. So we need to counter that with some truth. So I'm going to do another report this week about Labour comms, not communications at the conference. That was a bit of a test one. But now I know what emails work. And we have got impressivefoundation.uk and .org. So that's quite cool. Okay, so as long as they actually read and act on the report. Well, Chris, I mean, I don't know if they will, but at least I've tried to do something. At least I've tried, a lot of, I've got these achievements in my life that I go, oh, I did that. But for every achievement that you've heard of, there's about 100 things, 100 projects that just went nowhere. But at least I tried. At least I fucking tried. Anyway, back to the China spy case, which isn't a particularly interesting story, to be honest with you, and I'd like to get it over with. So let's just go through what's been going on. Okay, so why did the case collapse? The CPS's explanation, the Crown Prosecution Service's explanation on this, they said it couldn't secure evidence that at the time of the alleged offences, 21 to 23, China was officially designated as a threat to national security. Without that classification, the prosecution under the Official Secrets Act was impossible. That's what they said, Okay, so the political reality of this is the Conservative government at the time deliberately avoided calling China a threat, preferring systemic competitor. That was the term they used. God, that'll be a Trivial Pursuit question for the future, wouldn't it? What was the term they used? Systemic competitor. Okay. They're being economic with the truth and alternative facts. There you go. It's a new little bit of our parlance there. That's going to enter the dictionary. Systemic competitor. The language was softened to protect trade relations, and when Labour took over, they kept the same hedged language: cooperate where we can, compete where we must. And Britain's politicians wanted to keep selling stuff to Beijing, and that linguistic caution helped two alleged spies to walk free. But like I said at the top of the show, Labour were not in power at the time. You can try and pin this on Keir Starmer or you like, but the CPS is going off what the designation of China was between 2021 and 2023, which wasn't a threat to national security. That's the terminology that they needed to act on this case. So this is why we need new terminology. We really need new terminologies to talk about frenemies in some way. That, you know, just because we're an economic partner with another country doesn't mean they have a right to fucking spy on us, you know. And then we've got Badenoch. We'll have to mention Badenoch, aren't we? The Tory leader accused Starmer of a cover-up, saying Labour was hiding evidence to protect its China ties, and demanded full publication of the witness statements. So Starmer agreed to publish the documents, insisting no minister or advisor interfered with the evidence. And he said that the CPS decision was based entirely on the previous Tory government's stance, which it was. And both parties are playing sort of pass the parcel with national security responsibility. Badenoch wants to paint Labour as weak on China, as Starmer wants to blame Tories' timidity for the prosecution's failure. And the truth is that, you know, they both kept constructive engagement. Not some more weasel words there for you. They kept it alive, that line alive, because business comes first. And we've got to find some kind of happy medium where we can say, we are friends with this country for business reasons. However, they have a special designation that means they can't fucking spy on us. I don't see why any country should be able to spy on us, even if they're bosom buddies of ours. I don't think they should be allowed to spy on us. Do you know what I mean? I just don't think it's, you know, right. They wouldn't like it if we spied on them. So former Attorney General Dominic Grieve has called the case's collapse utterly mystifying. Said even without the words threat to national security, the evidence clearly showed that China was one. In short, the CPS applied the letter of the law but ignored common sense, according to Dominic Grieve, who wasn't the Tory Attorney General at the time. Obviously, he was kicked out in 2019. I think it was a bit early in 2019 with Dominic Grieve, but yeah, he was very anti-Brexit and fairly sensible. I met Dominic Grieve. He's all right for someone called Dominic. Many MPs are now confused and frustrated. If this isn't enough to prosecute a spy case, what is? And it raises the question: are British secrecy laws too rigid? Which is what I'm saying. You need a sort of frenemy act, or are politicians too cowardly to call out Beijing? Well, probably a bit of both. Which is why you need some happy medium. And I'm going to use the word frenemy again, even if it annoys you because you don't like it as a word. But, you know, there it is. And, the phrasing is important. The Tory era phrasing, evolving and epoch-defining challenge. That's what they called China. Not a threat to national security. But if you read between the lines, you could argue, but the CPS were like, no, ain't going to work. And then we've got this question of like, why Britain can't really decide what China is. You know, this is a geopolitical dilemma, really, isn't it? Because the UK depends on China so much for trade, for tech, for finance. Don't forget, they own a lot of British debt in China. Yeah, MI5 and GCHQ were one of large-scale espionage operations targeting parliament, academia, and infrastructure in this country. And it creates a two-faced policy. To condemn and collaborate simultaneously. And similar confusion plagues relations with Russia pre-2014 when they invaded Crimea. Crimea kind of forced clarity on the matter, but with China, that clarity still hasn't come, even as spy scandals pile up, and also, you know, the Chinese human rights records in places like Tibet and Xinjiang, up in the northwest of the country, is pretty grim. Pretty fucking grim. And then we've got this question of public interest. You know, should the government release all internal correspondence between the Cabinet Office, the CPS, and the National Security Secretariat? I don't think they should. I don't think they need to. I think this story, it's shit that the trial collapsed, but it would have been shitter if the trial had gone ahead, the government had spent millions of our taxpayers' money, on a case that then ultimately went nowhere and they got off on a technicality, which is what the CPS seems to think they would have done. But if Britain can't prosecute spies because of fucking word games, then our legal framework for counter-espionage is fundamentally broken. And again, Labour need to take the bull by the horns and say we need to clarify the Official Secrets Act. We need to the National Espionage Act. We need to say that these particular, just any countries, just make it any. You don't even have to make it specifically about China. Just say any country is not allowed to spy on us. End of. If they do, we can do you for spying, or do the people who are spying for spying. Meanwhile, you've got kind of like trial by press, haven't we? Where the government, the Tories were happy to let the press run wild with China spy headlines, but now it's like I don't know. We'll have to look at the papers. I'm sorry I keep going out of focus. I will sort this out. Do you know what? It's probably because of the lighting. Soft focus. There you go. It's probably a bit better. The newspapers are going on and on about the Chinese spy, and now it's going to be interesting what they say today. So we'll pop over there. We'll do that now. Should we pop over now? I think we can pop over. We haven't had any super chats this morning. It's probably because we're talking about something really fucking boring. So I'm going to put a goal in. I'm going to put a goal, 10 super chats, just any colour. We've got to give you 45 minutes, and we get confetti. Yay! Share how you'll celebrate. That's a bit OnlyFans, that, isn't it? Anyway, I put a challenge down, thrown down the gauntlet. Okay, so let's head on to the papers over here. Okay, why I believe Thatcher had an affair. Fuck me. What? I don't want to even think about that. Okay. And then we've got we're looking at fucking radiators now. Caitlin Moran on Victoria Beckham. I don't really care what Caitlin Moran's got to say about Victoria. Andrew saw sex with me as his birthright, claimed Guthrie. This is to do with Virginia Guthrie, who was a 17-year-old who took her own life earlier this year, who was abused by Andrew when she was 17, trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein, the world's most notorious paedophile. Really fucking grim. Andrew should be in jail. Never mind being stripped of his royal titles. Whitehall data breach gave secrets to Chinese. Critical failure covered up, Cummings alleges. So this is interesting. China obtained vast amounts of classified government information over a period of many years by compromising a network set used to transfer data across Whitehall. Dominic Cummings, who served as a senior advisor to Boris Johnson, said he and the then Prime Minister were informed about the breach in 2020, but that there had been a cover-up. I mean, come on. Wow. Okay, so the Chinese spy case has got a rumble then. There's a guy who was in government at the time as a senior advisor, senior spad to Boris Johnson, saying, "Oh yeah, we covered it up. Like there was a cover up, but it wasn't anything to do with me. We were just in government at the time. It's not like we were in charge of the civil service or nothing." So we've got the bear and the boss here. We've got Jeremy and Alan White, star of Springsteen biopic Deliver Me. He's also the guy from The Bear. If you ever watched The Bear, which is a TV show about cooking, that's why it's called The Bear, obviously. It's very good. It's very intense. It's very ADHD. Oh my God. If you are ADHD, you will find some familiar waters in this TV show. Well worth checking out. But there you go, there's Bruce Springsteen. And the guy playing Bruce Springsteen in the film. Little sideways little thing here where I'll just tell you about the time that I was invited to be part of the crowd in the Hacienda scenes at the end of 24-Hour Party People. And they also invited Ian Brown, they invited the Stone Roses, they invited Happy Mondays, Inspiral Carpets, loads of Manchester bands were there. But also, there were the actors who played the roles of the people in the bands were also there. So at one point in the night, I was sitting there in this sort of U-shaped like thing with me mate. And on our right, we've got Sean Ryder and Bez, right? And on our left, We got the people playing Shaun Ryder and Bess. I'm all getting absolutely trolleyed. It was fucking great. They recreated the hacienda in a warehouse in Greater Ancoats, Great Ancoats. It was a free bar. It was, ladies and gentlemen, it was a free bar. Oh my God. Oh my word. Wow, what a nice. I got to meet Steve Coogan, who seemed like a nice guy, actually. Although Tansky met him and said he was a dickhead. Although he does have this awful predisposition for playing paedophiles. Yeah. Did you hear about that? The Penguin Letters? The guy in the Penguin Letters? The Penguin Letters is about? The movie that just came out with Steve Coogan? The Penguin Letters? Yeah? There's been accusations of the guy it's about, who was a school teacher in a private school in the 1970s. Seriously fucked up allegations. Yeah. So that happened. And he also played Jimmy Savile as well. Anyway, so yeah, Steve, what are you doing, Steve, what are you doing? Anyway, we have our first super chat of the morning. Oh, thank you so much to Wheels Darren. Thanks, Darren, for the £10 super chat to get you started. Morning, Graham. Morning, Darren. Top of the morning to you. We've also got who have we got? I went to Hacienda a few times back in the day. Do you know what? It closed for good in the August of 1997. And I started university in the September of 1997. And I remember the first headline of the Student Direct newspaper when we first arrived, and it was, "Has it all come to an end?" So it was HAC with the cedilla underneath. Has it all come to an end? And it was a picture of the hacienda with the door closed. God damn it! Oh wow, Veg Pie. I got an ADHD diagnosis on Monday, an ASD in September. Woohoo! Congratulations, you are now part of the tribe. So well done. You win our ADHD participation trophy. I'm hopefully going to get some medication. This time next month, I'll be so focused and erudite and on top of things. It's gonna be a whole new Graham. A whole new Graham. It won't be. But hopefully it'll help me get more shit done in a sensible order. But congrats, Veg Pie, on getting the diagnosis. And welcome to the club. Welcome to the party, pal. Okay, so what was it all about? Oh, we were on the papers, weren't we? So I just want to brag about being at the fucking hacienda, didn't I? The fake hacienda. Taxes on the wealthy, not spending cuts, vows Reeves. Rachel Reeves has said that she will tax the wealthy in the forthcoming budget. Well, isn't that what everyone on the left has been calling for? Is anyone going to give her any credit for doing this? I doubt it, but good. Daniel Day-Lewis, theatre is an elitist art form for privileged people, says Daniel Day-Lewis, privately educated, of course. Of course, yes, you're right. Dragon Drama, welcome to Thatcher Fest. Maggie, out, down with Thatch. I always thought like Thatcher the musical, Thatcher, ! Musical would be a hilarious musical. If you did it in the style of Book of Mormon or, Jerry Springer the Opera or something, just absolutely took the piss. Because don't forget, it lends itself well to the Welsh male voice choirs, singing about having the jobs taken, and the kids, the child choir singing about her snatching their milk. And then you could have all the working class people at the time going, I hate her. And then she says, hey, do you want to buy your council house? And then you can flip it for like twice as much in a few years' time and then become your own private landlord and sell, and make other people work for the cost of your house. And they were like, oh, I love Thatcher now. How to make someone who's a lifelong Labour supporter vote for the Tories. Have them win the lottery. Anyway, budget will raise taxes on wealthy to fix public finances, says Reeves. Woo! Good. Yay! Can we have a little bit of a celebration here? That's what we've been calling for. What's Gary Stevenson going to do now? He's going to have to get a proper job. What am I going to do? I don't want to get a proper job. Number 10 puts out China spy witness statements. Talked about that. Safety nets, Ukraine moves to halt wave of Russian drone attacks. That's brilliant. Just put up nets. You want to stop drones? Just put up big fucking nets. Drones can't necessarily see them. into the net, and they yeah. Good call, Ukraine. A lot of the drones, because you can jam the signal, they fly by wire, so they literally have a wire from the controller, and it's like a gossamer thin, like a spider web, bit of web. And when the drone drops its whatever it's doing and or blows up, whatever, it leaves these little strands of wire, and they're absolutely littering what's left of the countryside in that part of in eastern Ukraine. And then we've got Palestine's top leader beaten in Israeli jail. There were two stories next to each other yesterday. Former Israeli captives, talking about their treatment, their torture at the hands of the Palestinians. And there were stories about the Palestinians at the torture at the hands of the Israelis. And this is why, one of the reasons I don't think there's any good guys in all this. I mean, when it comes to the security services of Israel and Hamas, I think they're all fucking shit. I think they're all fucking gobshites. Hamas was running around yesterday executing their own people for being traitors or something, or to assert their authority. People are like, hey up, dickheads, what have you achieved? Apart from killing a load of us. But there you go. It's one of the reasons why if I ever went to a march about what the situation in the Middle East, I would just have a flag of peace with the word peace on it. That's what I would have. I wouldn't have an Israeli flag. I wouldn't have a Palestinian flag, because it's not a footy match. The Daily Mail here revealed the healthiest loaves on the high street. Well, the thing is, if you stop eating expensive high street loaves, then you can afford a house. Apparently, Chinese stole secrets from number 10 for years. More adverts for radiators. Newly exposed outrage by communist regime heaps fresh pressure on Starmer over collapsed spying case. China stole Britain's state secrets for years using a backdoor. This is revealed by Dominic Cummings. How I Look This Good at 61, Photoshop probably, by Trinny Woodall, privately educated, of course. So yeah, but she does look good. I'll give it that. And then we have Alistair Heath here, privately educated, of course. Starmer and Macron in race to the bottom. Well, shout out to my gay friends there. And then we've got 6 floods to help you nod off. Oh no, 6 foods. Sorry, I thought I said floods. I was in floods of tears. Cummings, China stole secrets in major hack breach allowing intelligence briefings was covered up. Ex-aide claims. Well, shouldn't he go to jail for helping cover it up or covering up the cover-up and not telling anyone about the cover-up at the time? Shouldn't he go to jail? Shouldn't Dominic Cummings go to jail? No, because he's rich. He's rich. And there's Virginia Giuffre, and around the time that she met Jeffrey Epstein when she was 16 years old. Just so fucked. Taxes rising faster in Britain than any other G7 country, and 65 billion is the amount at which taxes are predicted to rise over Labour's term from 2024 to 2029. Yeah, I mean, well, if you didn't want that, you shouldn't have fucking backed Brexit, you twats. Trump plans Ukraine victory fund bankrolled by tariffs. I mean, what? Wait, what? What are you even talking about? I was hoping that would make the. Oh yeah, it does. Hang on. There you go. Sorry, I was trying to make the radiators go away. Trump bans Ukraine victory fund bankrolled by tariffs. Donald Trump is working to establish a Ukraine victory fund which will be bankrolled by fresh tariffs on China. They're not tariffs on China. China does not pay the tax. American companies and American consumers pay the tax. It's a tax on Americans. It is not a tariff on. This is the Tory graph, so obviously it's up Trump's arse. But BBC's cut evening TV news to save money. Royals shatter Prince Louis' Conquer dream. Okay. MOD match of the day. Losing viewers after Lineker's exit. Doesn't surprise me. He was a fantastic presenter and everyone loved him. He was a fucking national treasure. But the newspapers didn't like him because he was too soft on refugees. No, these are the same papers that were happy for Andrew Neil to be head of politics at the BBC and also edit the Spectator, a spectacularly right-wing periodical rag, at the same time. That was fine. But heaven forfend, a sports presenter has something to say about the treatment of refugees in this country. Kemi, it stinks of a China cover-up by PM. No, it doesn't, because he's released the documents, and it's your fault. It's your party's fault. You were in power. You were literally in government. You, as an individual, was part of that government, weren't you, Kemi? Yes, you were. Kemi Badenoch says that China spy scandal stinks of a cover-up. Well, that's kind of, I think we put that argument to bed this morning. Cat Brown, like Jennifer Aniston, I can't have a baby. Don't tell us to adopt. Okay, I won't. I didn't tell you to. Look, top tip to anyone: just if someone doesn't have kids, don't ask. It could be quite a hurtful subject. PM forced to publish evidence to counter Tory claim collapsed China's spy case is a cover-up. Okay. And then revealed terrible revenge of Taliban that shames Britain. More than 100 former Afghan forces killed since 2023 as murderous regime hunts down and tortures our former comrades, while UK fails to honour the promise of sanctuary to 4,000 who face reprisals. This is fucking disgraceful. This is really disgraceful. A new investigation reveals more than 100 ex-Afghan forces have been killed in the country since 2023, with others tortured, laying bare the dangers facing security personnel left behind after the government takeover in 2021, when Trump pulled all the troops out. And I know it was under Biden, but at that point, Biden couldn't really do much about it. Trump set it up with the Taliban, invited the Taliban over to America because he loves him some terrorists. We've got ditch state pension triple lock to fix economy, Reeves told. Just saying, they're not going to vote for you anyway, so whatever. Tensions rise over hostages and Gaza ceasefire deal. And Sir Andy Murray, my worst decision was buying a Ferrari that I never drove. If that was your worst decision in life, you're doing all right, mate. Leaked memo reveals Labour plan to slash affordable homes target. Requirements for developments to provide affordable housing in London is set to be cut by more than half in a bid to revive flatlining building levels and help meet the 1.5 million new homes pledge. So I don't really understand this. So they're going to reduce the amount of affordable housing in London, but that's going to help them meet the target of 1.5 million houses. So I'm guessing they're going to build them elsewhere because London's too expensive and too difficult to build in, which kind of makes sense. And I do like the idea of moving this stuff out. So I'm not particularly bothered about this. A memo from government housing officials show that target could be slashed to 20% of new homes instead of 35% as developers look to reduce their obligations. Councils and housing experts will want a huge blow to social housing in London, which could have ripple effects across the UK. Well, it could have, but I mean, London gets a lot. London gets a lot. As someone who doesn't live in London, London gets a lot. We get a free racing pullout. Has ET said hi? I don't think so. Trump, I am a hero. And then leaf it out, right, Rach? We've got a lettuce for Rachel. So, okay. I think she'll survive a bit longer. She's already survived longer than Liz Truss did as Prime Minister. So, Katie names TV star rapist. Stage audience left stunned at famous reveal. Model Katie Price stunned fans at a stage by naming a well-known British TV star who she claims raped her. God. Please don't put in the chat who it was, because I don't want to get sued. But if that's true, that's fucking awful. That is absolutely fucking dreadful. And the fact that these monsters are allowed to keep working in the industry. Then we have Claudia Winkleman at the top here. Moment I knew I was finished, ... giving away what's happening on Celebrity Traitors, which I'm not watching, and I wish they'll stop giving away what happens. Also, Claudia Winkleman, privately educated, of course. Then we've got Cheryl Tweedy there. Girls rally for Cheryl, Stars Night ahead of anniversary of losing Liam. Oh, sorry, it's no, different Cheryl. Different Cheryl. Sorry. I don't like it when they refer to celebrities by their first name. Because I don't necessarily know who they are. I'm not really up with sort of pop celebrity, ITV1 kind of things happening, shenanigans, soap stars. I don't really know. But I'm guessing this is the wife or the girlfriend of Liam Payne, who died a year ago this week. But Tories PPE scandal, 145 million owed, not a penny back. So this is about Michelle Mone and her husband Doug Barrowman, who set up PPE MedPro, got onto the VIP lane, which they lied about. They lied about having anything to do with the company, in fact, and then they bought a yacht called the Lady M. There you go. Health Secretary Wes Streeting says he will fight to get back the 145 million owed for dodgy COVID kit. Just take them out. Just put them in jail. Take all their assets. Put them in jail. Take all their assets. You'd do that to a drug dealer who had managed to make, I don't know, 100,000 from selling drugs. You'd do that to a drug dealer for a fraction. Take them. Take their houses. Take the houses that are in their children's names that they bought in Glasgow out of, take them off them. Sell them. Give the money back to the taxpayer. Jailed 27 years by her parents inside flat where missing woman was held captive since her teens in 1998. What the fuck? A woman last seen aged 15 before vanishing without a trace has been found 27 years later and was allegedly locked up by her parents all along. What the fuck? Wow. This is in Poland. Jesus Christ. What a fucking ordeal. Jesus. That's just horrible. I hate reading stories about that because it's when I start losing faith in humanity. I'm like, what the fuck? How could you do that to any human being? Never mind your own fucking daughter. Okay, so at the top here, a big read, which is quite important today. How Trump Inc. You have to put Inc. in there because you can't just say Trump directly. Made $1 billion from crypto. Trump, who said that crypto was a con a few years ago, and then his mate said, "Don't say that. We can make a load of money out of this con." And he's like, "Oh, money. I like money. $1 billion. This is a guy who was nearly bankrupt a couple of years ago. This guy who was going to jail. Should have gone to jail for the rest of his fucking miserable existence, but no, they made him president again. They put up statues in his honor. Americans just elbow each other out the way to fucking lay down at his feet and fucking prostrate themselves, just looking like a bunch of twats. Anyway, America can't shake off the Middle East. Light touch. Modi rolls out Diwali tax cut. Because it's the festival of light, Diwali. People shop for lanterns at the roadside stalls in Mumbai ahead of Diwali, the Hindu festival of lights. The festivities have been turbocharged by November. Modi's overhaul of the goods and sales tax aimed at boosting demand in the world's most populous country. Financiers sound alarm on standards after collapses expose riskier lending. First Brands and do I say Tricolo? Or say Tricolor? It's a difficult one, that, when you're reading it, isn't it? Let's say Tricolo. First Brands and Tricolo rattle markets, willingness to cut corners, fingers pointed at banks. And then bank backed by Trump-friendly tech billionaires gets watchdogs green light. So US regulators approved a bank backed by a group of tech billionaires. Oh, it ties to Donald Trump. So there you go. So Erebor, which is a region in Lord of the Rings, isn't it? Erebor. So this is probably Peter Thiel. Erebor was launched this year by Palmer Luckey, co-founder of military contractor Anduril, which is a sword in Lord of the Rings, I think, and Joe Lonsdale, head of venture capitalist firm 8VC and co-founder of data analytics firm Planeteer. I thought it would come back to Peter Thiel there. Something I need to tell you, right? Because Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and a lot of these tech bros are really into Lord of the Rings. Can I just say, once and for all, not all who Tolkien are fash. I'm certainly not. Right, anyway, so clean hands drive seen as Turkey's party's asset grab. So, I don't know, Erdogan stealing money over there in Turkey, probably. There was another story that I wanted to point out before we go back to the Chinese spy thing, right? Which is about how, was it Deutsche Bank yesterday? Where we mentioned that the AI bubble when it bursts, it's going to take down the US economy with it. So watch this space. Things could get a little bit rocky over the next 12 months. Okay, so what this whole Chinese spy thing says about British government culture is it's, officials prioritize plausible deniability over clarity, and clarity is really important in the law, and this is tied with the Equalities Act of 2010, which, because of a lack of clarity, can be interpreted in different ways. And this is why clarity is so important when you put a law together, because otherwise you just create a bunch of loopholes, which the wealthy, the elites will wiggle through. All those lovely loopholes. They love loopholes. And having woolly language about things, especially as important as national security, is a huge problem and something that Labour need to sort out right away. Remember Huawei were going to be involved heavily in the rollout of 5G, but then they were banned, and the investment still. But we're still looking for investment from them. Students are welcome from China, but the scrutiny's been ramped up, and espionage obviously condemned, but trade is prioritised. And when it's a standoff like this was between trade or do we do these people for espionage, we went on the grounds of trade. It's unfortunate that we can't do both. We can continue to China. We can continue to trade with China, but if people are spying for them, then we can put them in jail, because that's not what we should be doing. Well, what it smacks of really is cognitive dissonance, which is the idea of having two opposing ideas in your head at the same time. So, like a scientist a scientist who doesn't believe in evolution, for instance, because they're religious. That's cognitive dissonance. It's a bit of a weird stance to have, and you tie yourself in knots trying to justify your beliefs. But the smarter you are, the better you are at doing that. There's a myth that people think that only dickheads fall for cults. It's not true. In fact, some of the people who've fallen for cults have been very, very intelligent people, but because they're so intelligent, they can spin their own brain into ways of justifying their beliefs. Whereas if you're not as intelligent, you can't, and you just go, okay, well, that's probably bullshit then, because I can't get my head around it. Whereas you can create justifications for your cognitive dissonance if you're intelligent. So it's one of the reasons why so many cults historically have grown up in two places: California, and more specifically, colleges in California. Funny that. Anyway, this is it's a national security farce, really, and where spies walk free without even a trial because of some missing adjectives. What a time to be alive! Maybe the big problem here, maybe the big threat isn't China per se, it's Britain pretending everything is fine as long as the trade flows, and we've become more dependent on countries like China in recent years because of Brexit. Anyway, I really want a functional replica of Anduril, Glamdring and Orcris too, says one angry pagan. Yeah, Phil likes his swords as well, doesn't he? I wouldn't know what to do with it. Martin, they're welcome to take the £5 they pay me. I didn't do the paperwork they wanted. It's well below minimum wage. Given it would have been a couple of hours work. I don't know what that is. The concept of shareholders and directors of a limited liability company not being liable for any of the company's debts is a long-established legal principle, says Anne PJ 2006. Yes, however, there should be criminal sanctions brought against the people who conned the British taxpayer out of £130 million. That absolutely should be. They can't just hide behind the fact that it was a limited company and what you're going to do. There are mechanisms there, and if it had been drugs, if it had been drugs if it had been £130,000 that someone had made through drugs, selling drugs, they would have recouped that. There is a green fish in the sea. So there is a green fish in the sea, says Michael. I'm not here in my front room, but somewhere in the sea, a fish is green and pink and blue and yellow and red and system error restarting. Cool. Thanks for sharing that. Pete says, when I was younger, dystopian was kind of science fiction. Now the word's becoming much more the norm. Indeed it is. I've got to say, I got second-hand embarrassment for Starmer when Trump did him like that. Oh, yeah. You're talking about when he said the UK, the UK, the UK. And then Starmer steps forward and he shakes his hand and he goes, yeah, the UK. And then he started talking again. It was just, it was like, I don't even know who you are. Michael, I would know what to do with it. And that's exactly what I don't own any swords. That's Michael. Yeah, not my kettle of fish, but you know, I try not to put fish in my kettle. It makes all the tea taste fishy. So moving on, we're going to have a look at what else has been going on in the news very briefly. We have 15 minutes for some more super chats. If you want to, you know, make confetti come down, you are welcome to do so. So if I just want to talk for a moment about what's happening in France. So in France, right, they had a prime minister. This is the 17th prime minister this month. A guy called Sébastien Lecornu, which basically means horny. It means Sebastian Horny. Not like horny as in sex. I mean horny as in like having horns. But that's his name. If it was English, he'd be called Sebastian Horny. Anyway, Mr. Horny is the prime minister of France. And he was prime minister of France up to about a week ago. And he resigned. And then he got given the job back again by the president, Macron. He said, no, I want you to be my prime minister, you horny devil. And he only took the job in September. He resigned this month. He got back in the job. And now there is a no confidence vote happening right now that could bring down the prime minister again. The Macron's pension reforms have remained a sticking point in the parliament, and the Conservatives are backing the PM, but the Socialists warn there is no pact, and Socialists are the biggest bloc. So if in the vote of no confidence, he needs to win the support of 289 of the 577 MPs in the French Parliament. But there you go. We'll see. We will see. It's you know, we thought that it was quite ridiculous in the UK, you know, especially in the Brexit years of this revolving doors of you know, ministers being in one job one week and then another job the next week. And it's one of the reasons why I'm kind of bemused and also a bit pissed off about the fact that Starmer moved his cabinet about last month for no reason whatsoever. Just moved everyone sideways. It's like, no, keep them in the job. You know, you got a new job. Don't give them a new job. You know, they're still settling in after a year. Never mind. You know. Anyway, so UK economy expanded as GDP rate rises by 0.1% in August, ahead of the crucial budget from which will be next month, I think. The budget, which is going to tax the wealthy, apparently. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about the wealthy being taxed? How do you think there being some kind of wealth tax coming in? But there you go. So a little bit of good news, 0.1%, which is fuck all, really. What else is happening? Plug-in hybrids pollute almost as much as petrol cars, report finds. Yeah, so let's just have electric cars, shall we? There is a huge case going ahead against Johnson & Johnson for putting asbestos in their, or having asbestos in their talcum powder. I used talcum when I was a baby. Well, I didn't go to the shop and buy it, but you know. JD Vance brushes off racist text by adults in Republican group chat as what kids do. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but there was a wonderful clip of JD Vance being interviewed by Stephen Stephanopoulos. Stephanopoulos? What's his name? Something like that. On his show. I don't know if it was CBS or something. and he wouldn't answer a question, and so the interviewer just cut him off. It was a beautiful thing. Is it Peter Stephanopoulos? Peter Stephanopoulos. Yeah, I was right. I just couldn't spell it. Let's have a look if we can. Let's see if we get the video up. Should we get the video of this? JD had a very nasty person interviewing him. Let's see if we can get JD. There we go. President Trump hits out. I don't want. I just want. There you go. This is awesome. So I'm going to show you this. If you give me a moment, just indulge me. Get everything set up. This is JD Vance being cancelled live. This is awesome. Let's make sure we get some sound on here. This is how you deal with it. This is what I would do if I was an interviewer with any politician who wouldn't answer my fucking questions or lie to people. I just stop. I just stop. I just say no. Piss off, bastard. Here we go. Let's see if we can get some sound on here, and then some sound for you so you can hear it. And let's go.
Talk about the real issues, George. I think the American people would benefit much more. Real issues, George. I think the American people would benefit much more from that than from you going down some weird left-wing rabbit hole where the facts clearly show that Tom Homan didn't engage in any criminal wrongdoing.
It's not a weird left-wing rabbit hole. I didn't insinuate anything. I asked you whether Tom Homan accepted $50,000, as was heard on an audio tape recorded by the FBI in September 2024, and you did not answer the question. Thank you for your time this morning.
No, George, I said that I don't.
Up next, we'll be right back.
Anyway, so there you go. Liz Allen, 9535. Thank you very much for the $5 US. Thank you. But yeah, I really very much enjoyed that. Thank you for your time. Bye bye. George Stephanopoulos. I think we need to start calling Republicans Reich publicans. Ooh, very good, very good. George, was it George? Did I say Peter? Sorry, George Stephanopoulos. Who's Peter then? Why did I make that up? It's George. All right. It came up. I typed in Peter, and that came up as one of the things. We've all been hoodwinked by Big Talc, Alan Partridge. Yeah, Trump to Starmer. I don't know who you are. More importantly, I don't care. Wow. Did he actually say that? Out loud? Out of his disgusting face. The way Vance is treated, the way Farage should be treated by the BBC. Yeah, I don't disagree with you there, Brighton and Hove, actually. Actually, I don't disagree with you. So, just to nip over to the Middle East for a moment, the remains of 3 more people, I think, have been delivered to the Israeli authorities. And Hamas is claiming that they don't have access to the rest of the remains of the hostages. I don't know what their excuses are. I don't know if they're buried under rubble or what the story is there, but it is pretty grim. It's just a horrible situation. And the Israelis are using this as an excuse to not quite deliver on their side of the bargain, especially when it comes to allowing aid into Gaza. Hamas has said it has returned all the hostage bodies it can reach for now. Like I say, it sounds like some of them might be buried under fucking tons and tons of rubble. Yeah. So I want to just dive into this JD Vance story. So, wow. Vice President this is JD Vance brushes off racist texts by adults in Republican group chat as what kids do. This is fucking insane, right? So Vice President downplays messages. Oh, piss off adverts. Piss off. Close. How do I stop this advert from cycling? Stop it. Okay, that seems to have stopped it. JD Vance brushes off racist texts by adults as in Republican group chat as what kids do. But he was talking about a chat that was such as I love Hitler. And it was 24 to 35-year-olds. Including one that said rape was epic. And he said that reality, that's kids do stupid things, especially young boys. Vance said they tell edgy, offensive jokes. That's what kids do. Fucking hell. What a piece of shit. What a piece of absolute fucking detritus. What a piece of fucking flotsam. What a piece of fucking garbage. What a human fucking sewer that man is. God. Anyway, Ms. Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Trump's army bombed a boat in the Caribbean alleged to have links with drugs cartels. Yeah, there was another event off the coast of Venezuela. Again, we've had 4 super chats. We have 5 minutes to get another 6. Any colour, so you could just drop 50p in, I think. If you want to put 50p in the idiot and get yourself some lovely confetti. Different world to my GM area. Just scary hearing more of it every day. Joanna says that unsure. The current indications according to Labour rep is that they were behind, and it's likely that reform would take the seat. Yes, it is very likely that reform. Is that in Caerphilly? Did my postal vote yesterday? Labour basically begged me to vote in a local election as they are in second place and reform in first place. Yeah, it's a bit grim. It's all a bit fucking grim at the moment with the rise of refuck, and we really need to be pointing out that Nigel Farage works for the Russians. Colchester is normally slightly sensible. The council is usually no overall control, as it is for the general election. It switches between all 3 leading parties. I think Colchester went to Labour, though, didn't it, for the first time in a while. In this election, in the general election last year. Bigger town mentality versus county then. Yeah. George Stephanopoulos went to Epstein's for dinner with Prince Andrew, says Diz. Oh my God. Oh, well, I liked him up to that point. God, fucking hell. Can't like anyone now, can you? They're all fucking nonsense. They're all fucking wrong-uns. Everyone famous is a cunt. Anyway, moving on. So the confidence vote has begun in France to decide whether the PM can stay on. the 97th PM of the week, whether you can stay on. Voting is expected to take half an hour. So we might have wrapped up the show by then. But I will keep you abreast of the situation. BBC viewers are worried about political interference. The boss of the BBC says, "You are not the boss of me now." We'll go to the BBC, which is good because it's got no fucking adverts on the BBC. That's why I should just stick with the BBC and not even think about going to any other these news sites. We've got Paula Thomas in the chat. Oh yeah, I've read that one. Sorry. And then let's tell them not the Welsh way, Sarah. So I was saying, I'll try my hardest to get through to people the dangers of reform. Yeah, they are really fucking dangerous. Our BBC viewers worried about political interference, boss says. The BBC Director General has said viewers are worried about political interference in the corporation following the results of a major questionnaire about the broadcaster. More than 870,000 members of the public answer questions online about the BBC and its place in society. Fewer than half, 43%, said they thought that the corporation was effective at being independent from government, while 38% thought it was ineffective. Yes, Mr. Davey, privately educated, of course, Tim Davey, friend of the Tories. But there you go, you know, he gets to be friends of the Tories. You don't. You don't get anything. You get a one-way ticket to Palookaville. That's what you get for being, I don't know, for caring about the world. What else have we got? We've got Australia's rainforests are releasing more carbon than they absorb, warn scientists. Fuck. That's not good. Cut down the rainforest, save the world. There's a story here about John Joe Shelby, who's a Premier League footballer who's moved to Dubai. I just want to focus on this for a moment. I'm not in Dubai for money. I don't want my kids growing up in England. Wow. He made 278 Premier League appearances for Newcastle United, Liverpool, Swansea City, and Nottingham Forest. I'll never wear a watch in London anymore. He's there you go. He said I couldn't care less after a clip of his miss at Jebel Ali Shooting Club have racked up 1 million views on social media. It doesn't bother me. I've seen a few things like he's gone there for the money. I'm thinking, what money? There's no money in the UAE Second Division League. There you go. Okay, so he's moved to Dubai. So yeah, I'm not in Dubai for money. I don't want my kids growing up in England. Says someone who doesn't like England anymore. He's gone to Dubai, where don't get drunk, mate. Don't smoke any weed. Don't go bankrupt. Don't chew gum on the overhead train. Yeah, there's lots of rules, man. Lots of rules. Just saying. You don't have to follow all of them, but if you don't get caught. A lot of people go to Dubai and then they come back after a while. I was in Dubai for a month. It's all right. What have we got here? There's always ground news and pick your flavour of influence. Yeah. On the lawless London shtick. Yeah. London's completely lawless now. I haven't worn a watch for decades. Who wears a watch when you have a mobile? Do you know what, though? I want to watch. I said this. I said, even wants to get me something for Christmas, I'd like a watch. Because, you know what? I hate having to get my phone out of my pocket to find out what time it is. I don't want to have to do that. I want to just look at my watch. When I was traveling, I had a compass watch. I press it and it told me which way north was, or which way I was facing. That's fucking useful, that. When you arrive at a train station and you just got your Lonely Planet and you sort of, you're looking at the map and you kind of, which way up does it go? Having a watch, north, got it. Okay, cool. You knew which way you were going, so you didn't end up walking the wrong way through the little narrow streets of a slum in Kolkata. When you need to get on the train. I started wearing a watch last year. But I mean, I wouldn't wear an expensive watch because I like jewelry that looks nice. Do you know what I mean? When someone has like a nice watch or a nice necklace or a nice bracelet, right? And it's just a little accoutrement to a human. They have a thing. They have a little bit of jewelry. Maybe they got a piercing or something like that. Nice, whatever, subtle, whatever. But like when people wear jewelry to show off how much money they've got, it's tacky. It's just tasteless. Imagine wearing like loads of fucking, money on you when there's people living on the street, stepping over homeless people, and you're wearing a watch that could buy a house for that homeless person if you sold the watch. I hate that. I hate that. And you tend to find the more expensive things get, the less classy they get. Well, that's the way I see it anyway. Mine is a smartwatch, so it does more than time. Yeah, smartwatches are cool. A watch is a shackle you put on yourself, says Eddie Bed. Is it a shackle if it's not attached to a chain? Not worn a watch for 20 years. Used to have a £10 Casio watch. Yeah, I think it was Timex, my watch. My watch that I had in school was fucking great. I had a Casio remote control watch. It was fucking genius, right? So you could not only change the channel on the TV, right? And also turn the TV on and off. And also turn the volume on and off. It also operated video recorders as well. So what I used to do, we'll be sitting there watching a video in school. This is the days of VHS tapes, and I just press the pause button on my watch. It will pause the video, and all my mates would be giggling because they know it was me. And the teacher would be like, "Oh, 1 second, boys," and they'll walk to the front and press play on the video, and then they'll go and sit back down, and just as soon as they sat down, I press stop again. I made them get it. I guess you had to be there, but oh my god, I laughed. Teacher just getting absolutely frustrated, going, why does the video keep pausing? And everyone's giggling. I was a terrible kid in school. You would have hated to have me in your class. You would have hated it. Best watch ever. Also, you could make it learn, because it had like a learning function. So you could press to learn, and then you got the remote control, and then you could press the button that you wanted it to learn, and then it would learn that off that specific remote control. And it had different frequencies that it worked on, different frequencies of light. So it worked for all different types of stuff. I always remember I got it to learn my brother's beeper for his car alarm when it was infrared's not infrared anymore on car alarms and car beepers, but when it used to be infrared and you used to actually point it at the windscreen, and there was a little thing in the windscreen that would get I copied my older brother's thing, and then we were walking towards the car one time, and I went, I think I'll just turn your alarm off. Beep. And the locks went off and the alarm went off, and he went, what the fuck? I was like, whoa. Awesome stuff. Anyway, £5 super chat from Ms. Paula Thomas. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Obviously, these stories about the danger of heading a football are true. Well, yeah. I mean, I just think it's a bit grim to have a story about sort of dissing the UK. And one thing that I hate Boris Johnson. Cards on the table. I fucking hate him. I hate everything he stands for. I hate that foppish. I didn't like Hugh Grant characters from the 1990s. Once the 90s were over, Hugh Grant, fucking awesome. But those 90s characters that he played the same character in every fucking film, whether it was Mickey Blue Eyes or whether it was Notting Hill or Four Weddings and a Funeral, whatever it was. He was like this foppish British guy. Hey, go on, I'm just so clumsy. Look, I just dropped something. I'm such a klutz. Right, I fucking hated that. Right? And that's what Boris Johnson based his shtick on. I hate that. I hate the fact that he came for money. He went to Eton. He became Prime Minister at the worst possible time, and during a fucking pandemic, and so many people died. Right. But one thing I will say, reluctantly, is I appreciate the boosterism. I appreciate the idea of getting people to feel good about being British, about not in a racist way, right? So good about being British, no matter your skin color, no matter your religion, okay? Doesn't matter your sexual orientation, your gender, okay? It doesn't matter, right? Feel good about being British. And he did that. He did it really well. He was all about, just make everyone feel really good about and he did that very well. And I think that it's an easy jab to make at anyone complaining about the state of the place to say you're talking down the country. And obviously I do that a lot. This is a bit shit. We could make this better. Whether it's the railways or whether it's bringing in UBI or going back into the EU or whatever it is, right? But I sort of get me back up a little bit when people are like, I'm leaving Britain, like, especially with rich people with loads of fucking money. And they're like, I'm leaving Britain. It's too shit. I'm going to live somewhere else. There's too many immigrants, so I'm going to emigrate somewhere else. It really pisses me off because I feel like those people have milked the system and done so well for themselves because of the way that Britain is set up. That might not have worked in any other country. I mean, if that football player wants to play in, America, good luck with that. Football's not a thing in America. They're done well at the British system, and then to say, oh, fuck that place. I don't know. Sticks in my craw a bit. I can understand the people watching this who are like, Britain's a fucking cesspit at the moment, not least because of Nigel Farage and his Tommy 10 names and all their fucking little acolytes. But at the same time, I do, and that's different. I mean, if you're feeling like you're actually under threat because of, say, the changes in the law to do with trans people in this country, then, fair enough. I completely get that. I'm talking about like millionaires who have no reason to move away, no reason to go and live in Dubai, like Richard Tice, who's an MP. So why is he living in fucking Dubai? What the fuck? But and they move because they can. They move because they don't want to pay tax. They want to give back to the society that allowed them to reach the top of the society. They just want to go somewhere else and leech off some other person's country. There you go. And Andrew Ray says we're in the World Cup. Yeah, but unfortunately, some of it is being held in America, which is a bit grim. We're leaving, unless Andrew is from Cape Verde. We should have a leaving party for every rich person who wants to go. Yeah, we should. And they have to pay for it. When I left the UK for France, it was for work and a cultural experience. After 2 years, I came back to the UK. Yeah, I'm not talking about that kind of thing. I mean, I lived in Panama for 3 years. I travelled for years. You know, didn't come home for more than a week in a year for like a very long time. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like the Richard Tices of the world, the Isabel Oakeshits of the world, who are like, oh, we've done rather well out of being privately educated and making all this money out of lying to the British people. Now we're going to fuck off and say how shit Britain is. Yeah. Then again, I mean, fucking Boris Johnson's dad fucked off, didn't he, to fucking France? Dirty bastard. I live entirely in my kitchen bedroom, bathroom bedroom. Works for me. I've got an 8-track recording set up in my kitchen. It's cool. Pizza music. And then thanks for the brew, guys. Have a good day. That's from 76 steps. We didn't get the confetti. Oh well, never mind. You can't win them all. You cannot win them all. So just so you know, next week we will be doing possibly the first episode of Debunked, but we were going to do it today. But Mike has a stall that he's setting up at the weekend at a thing in Brighton, I think. So he's making all the merchandise, the merch to sell at his stall. So I'm letting him get on with that. And then next week we're going to crack on with Debunked and hopefully get all the tech sorted out. It's going to be it's going to be me and Mike playing two different characters in a cartoon. We're going to have a cartoon on this channel. It's going to be a bit South Park. It's going to be live. It should be quite interesting. It might not work. It might be shit. It might be very shit. But if it is, we'll knock it on the head. But I just want to see if we can get the tech working. It's something that I've wanted to do for a long time. So yeah, please join us for that next week in the evening on Thursday. But today, I think you're off the hook unless I decide to do a special show this evening. And please make sure that you subscribe to the channel and you've hit the bell notification icon in case we do decide to do a special show. If something happens in the news or we just decide to do one. Otherwise, I will be back tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, morning brew, nice and early. And then we've got the agenda at 1 o'clock. I'm gonna have a little chat with Phil before the show and try and make it a little less tempestuous. I don't want to have a debate. I want to have a discussion. I don't want to have a fight. I just don't. It's just like my temperament. I'm not really here to argue with anyone. I just want to talk about what's going on in the world, which is a bit weird because I did debating in school. I was part of the debating society in university. I debated at Oxford and the Oxford Union and Cambridge and stuff. But I don't really like it. I don't, because do you know what it's like in a debate? This is why it drives me up the wall. It's like having an argument or whatever, or if you do stand up and someone shouts something else at you and you think of a really, really good comeback for what they've just said, but you think about it on the bus on the way home, and then you watch back and you're like, oh shit, why didn't I say that? Why didn't I say, well, I was doing this. I don't mind if I forget to say something I wanted to say about a particular news story. It doesn't bother me as much. But when you're in that sort of debate or argument situation, I'm too old. Can't be arsed. I just want to have a good time. But there you go. So the agenda at 1 o'clock, and then we'll be having the Friday night social at 9:30 tomorrow. Please join us for that, and we should be having a jolly good laugh. And Elle says, "Mass debate, lol." Never stops being funny. And Mr. T says, Phil is strident. Yeah, he is. But it was getting a little talky over each other recently, says Joanna. Yeah. Anyway, so hopefully see you again on another show. And until then, thanks for watching. Thanks for the super chats. Give us a like on the way out, as always, because, we always like a like. And do consider joining the channel, because if you join the channel, just press the join button under the video. you get some bonuses. I got a bit of time now, so I will try and do the credits. I'm just going to write a little note saying credits. I had a bunch of stuff that I had to get done, like once I got back from Canada and Panama, around the house and in the garden and stuff before it got too cold and wet and damp and fucked up in winter here. And I've got them done now. Finished off yesterday afternoon. So yeah, I should be able to crack on with all stuff to do with Politics Social and creating some fucking awesome content for you. So watch out for that. Got some more stuff on the way. In the meantime, thanks very much for watching. And until next time, hello, good evening, welcome, and